Hello, Witchcraft here. I thought I'd do a video for you on the basic tools of witchcraft, what you might want to acquire to get started. I'm going to add quite a few tools, but I think what you would want to do is look at what you're most attracted to start with, and then work your way from there. You'll see in my video that some things could double for other things initially, and then you may develop deeper meanings and specialized uses for different items, and you'll want to expand and have specific set-aside items. Or if you're a real minimalist, which I know some people are, you might just always stick with the multi-use. We're going to just start with what I have as my travel kit, because I don't want to put before you some of the finer items that I might have saved up for. I don't want anyone to feel like that's a requirement at all. Oftentimes I've started with things from my kitchen, from my attic, stuff I found at a thrift store or someone gifted me, but it really helps to have a few basics. Before you'll see what looks like a pretty crowded little section of witchcraft. There's a lot going on here, but actually most of these items were only $1 or $2 each, and they became really important to my witchcraft. Some things might have been as much as $10. You might recognize a few things offhand. A knife. This one was gifted to me, but any kind of knife would work. This one's especially beautiful, but any sort of black-handled knife. You might find something in your kitchen that is nice. Here's a candle in a jar or a tin. Those will burn better when it's windy outside, and also they're easy to cap up and take with you after you've burnt them. I really think that wooden spoon is useful. I think most witches do some brewing. They will do something that requires some mixing. This wooden spoon was $1 or less, and then I burnt designs on it. You can see here a beautiful fairy that I burnt on there, but that just was additional for my uses. This is an oil lamp. I think a lamp is kind of the unsung hero of the traditional witch's altar. It has a lot of meaning, especially related to the horned god. Many of the much older myths relate the horned god to a lamp, vizier, and his lamp of knowledge. Baphomet has a lamp between his horns. The devil, Lucifer, as he's conflated with the King James Bible and the medieval traditions, is a lamp bearer. He's a flame bearer. Very Promethean type of figure, in my opinion. You'll of course want the traditional chalice or a cauldron to drink your wine from, to make offerings in, to scry in. A dark liquid, especially a red wine, is gorgeous to scry in. You can even just dye some juice or water a dark color and use that. Here I've got a tincture that my best friend Amy made that I could put in the chalice to drink and scry with. Oftentimes witchcraft requires chanting, prayers, counting while meditating, so you can meditate for long enough. And count, for example, if you're just doing even the basic meditation or breath counting, it's really useful to count how many breaths you've done in order to tell how long you've gone. This was a $3 mala bead set. You can make your own. Any sort of bead will do. It's for the counting purposes. You can add extra meaning by choosing the types of beads to enhance what you're doing, but the main tool use is to count. This is my ancestor bottle. I made it based off of Sarah Lawless's instructions. It's just incredibly convenient having this ancestor bottle. It's got grave dirt in it. It's got eggshells in it. It's got yew bark or yew wood in it. It has cornmeal in it. And then it has a mandrake root in there, or some other root that patchouli would be an example, that is related to graves. Mullein, it's graveyard dust. Just layer up some stuff that's special. Red brick dust. Anything to layer up to, as you add it, represent your ancestors. This is incredibly convenient once it's made to take with you when you're traveling to work on ancestor offerings. Generally I like to work with my ancestor altar like this, but that's not going to be convenient every time I travel. So let's see here. Next, I'm going to show you, obviously an incense burner. This one was just a couple of bucks at a gas station. Cheap incense. The smoke is an important offering. Many spirits feed off of smoke. It's just very traditional. You could do it any number of ways that suit you. The wand is an important tool. The wand is how you direct energy, intention, power, extend it outside of yourself into the realms of spirits and emanation. You can also point directly at items and command them, and that's pretty important. A bell or some sort of Tibetan bowl or something to make a loud ring is really good for spirit cleansing, for starting and ending a ritual, a kind of noise. You can also go with a harmonica. Musically, you can do a lot with music and ritual, and I think that's overlooked. A drum. The beautiful sound of a drum. I'm terrible with drums, by the way, but my stepson is excellent with them, so that's why I have this. You'll need a cloth of some kind. The cloth may just seem like a basis, just like to cover your altar, but actually you can use it in a lot of really significant ways. One of the most important ways is collecting dew. I used this to collect dew on Imbolc morning and then squeeze that out into a bottle that would then be useful all year round. Bridget is so associated with the spirit familiar and the muse that her dew in a spirit familiar bottle would be really useful. That's an advanced practice, but I thought I'd mention it in passing. Then here I have some books. I just decided to show you the very basics, what a witch might want. Having a little Bible, this is a pocket Bible. It's important to know, especially in a heretical witchcraft practice, which is what most traditional witchcraft really is. It's important to work with the historical elements of witchcraft, which are contained in the the King James Bible. And this is just a little pocket one. It's mostly the New Testament, but I would, suggest having a bigger one. There's some Psalms that are useful for witchcraft. There's some parts of the New Testament that may be useful. Something really important to me is that the Bible is our history too. What the pagans did, the Samaritans did, what the nations did. These are all terms to describe pagans, witches, and magicians. You'll find a lot of lore in there. I'm really thinking that significant in the New Testament is Revelations, specifically outlaws, the type of sorcery we do. And when you choose to do that, it can be a big deal. It's right near the end of the Old Testament. The New Testament. You can, look at that and go, oh my goodness, you're making a real decision here to go against cultural norms here when you determine that you're not going to follow the dictates of the Bible anymore. So let's see here. I want to find the last part of Revelations. Here we have in Revelations the verses that refer to sorcery and witchcraft. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Blessed are those who do his commandments, that they may have the right to the tree of life, and may enter through the gates into the city. But outside are dogs, and sorcerers, and sexually immoral, and murderers, and idolaters, and whoever loves and practices a lie. I, Jesus, have sent my angel to testify to you in these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, the bright and morning stars. And the Spirit and the bride say, Come, and let him who hears say, Come, and whom who thirsts come, whoever desires. Let him take the waters of life freely. So this is important to acknowledge. When you choose to take witchcraft, you're taking those things on outside of the rules. You are going to do it your own way. You're going to take immortal life your own way, immortality. You're going to seek reincarnation your own way. And you're going to realize Jesus isn't the only way, because he rules out sexuality, sorcery. He rules out animals. He rules out idolatry, which is worshiping other gods. And whoever loves and practices a lie, which is anything that Christians decide that it is. It may not be, really simple for you to decide. Another book, it might be really not that simple for you to decide to let that go. And if you can't, you can't. Let me just say it. It's really hard to go against the moral authority, against the cultural norms. But frankly, those cultural norms are really hurtful and damaging. They tell gay people, bisexual people, transgender people, homosexual, lesbian people, that who they are is wrong. Asexual people, hey, you're wrong because the Bible says so. Let's just say it, and that's not really exactly what I see Jesus saying, although I still see Jesus's premises based on sin, so I still reject them. But he's definitely more supportive of pagans than anybody else in the Bible. He's definitely pro-Samaritans. He says not to preach to the nations. The story doesn't change till after he dies. Here we have a beautiful book. Just an example of what you might use as poetry. This is by Fiona MacLeod. It's called The Silence of a Moor. But I'm just saying poetry, period. Get a poetry book, especially one about mysticism that speaks to you, and then write your own poetry as well. This book is so gorgeous, and it really covers mysticism in a Celtic manner. I would just love to read you any number of these poems. But they are, just so many. I saw the weaver of dreams, an immortal shape of the star-eyed silence, and the weaver of death, a lovely dusk with the heart of hidden flame, and each wove with the shuttles of beauty and wonder and mystery. I knew not which was the more fair, for death seemed to me as love, and in the eyes of the weaver of dreams I saw joy. Oh, come, come to me, weaver of dreams, come, come upon me, O lovely dusk, thou that hast the heart of hidden flame. The last book I want to cover is Gardening with Seeds. This is just any old book about herbs, gardening, planting, a book that gives you the clues to getting growing started. So much of witchcraft is involved with the land, with rebirth, with growing. And if you can even just get started with a simple plant like mint, learning how to plant it, how to plant it at the right time period. These seasonal books you might see in the seed sections will tell you what moon phase to plant on and how to get your seeds to grow. The more you grow, the more you work with plants, the more mysteries of witchcraft you will discover and understand. I can't emphasize it enough. This is just one example of many books you could pick up. I'm not saying to get this particular one. This is just, a junkie book. Any junkie book on how to plant is okay. Go to your thrift store, pick up the almanac that comes with the seeds for a couple bucks at the hardware store. Get something that's going to tell you how to plant and get involved. Here's a great article in this little book about drying herbs. Dry the herbs, do things with them, make teas. I can't emphasize enough how important this is. And then the last and final book is underneath all this. Oh, just a quick interruption. I hadn't covered this yet. This is representative of Earth. In most traditions, this is the paten. It is the witchcraft plate. And if you use it to do your offerings, right here I have a wafer, but you could use any kind of offering that's suitable to your tradition. But underneath all of this is your own witchcraft book. In your own witchcraft book, you're going to have all sorts of clippings. My roommate's home. She's a witch too. You're going to have all sorts of clippings. You're going to have poetry. You're going to have poses that are important to do for you. You're going to have poetry that you've written that just speaks to, where you've learned. This I wrote. And, oh, I even have a book list. I just cover it all. And this is important to have your own journey recorded. And you guys are getting a real little secret moment here. I don't want to give much more from it. But underneath it all is your own meaning, creation, and work. And I would just love you all to see that and make it for yourself. And that's what traditional witchcraft is all about and what the tools are all useful for. And part of the symbolism of me, trashing the tools and wiping them away is to show that it's about your magic and discovery and spirituality. And that's inside this, just this book is one example of what I've done with it, my interpretations of all the traditions and how I've worked those into my life.